Yeah, so thank you for having me. I started working with indie games about 20 years ago.
20 years.
And back then it was because I really wanted to find a new kind of game. A lot of the games just seemed, they were all on disc, and they all seemed kind of the same. They were all shooting games, and every game I pick up feels the same. And so 20 years ago, I wanted to try to change that. And so now there's just so many types of games, so it's very exciting to see that. And so indie games you can think of as one genre, but also inside indie games there are so many genres. So there's so much variety, and that's what really makes me excited. Well, I think the easiest answer is Animal Well, because that is the one that just came out this year. But for a game that I haven't worked on myself, maybe there's one game called World of Goo, which was really the first indie game that I tried to support when I was at Nintendo a long time ago, and I was really hoping it would succeed, and it was very creative and very different, and it did very well, so I was very happy for that developer. And since then there have been just so many amazing games that it's hard to choose one. At first, when I was at Microsoft and we were building Xbox Live Arcade, that was a new line of business, and it was very exciting. And then I moved to Nintendo, and I was able to create a whole new line of business there. So it was very exciting, reaching out to new developers that Nintendo never worked with before, and also thinking about the business issues of how do we pay lots of different developers a small amount instead of just a few big publishers. And so there are a lot of interesting business challenges in developing this business. But after I was there for about 8 or 9 years, the problems were more or less all solved, and it was just it just kept repeating. So first we did the Wii with WiiWare, and then DSiWare, and then Wii U eShop, and then 3DS eShop, and just it was, we knew what to do each time, so it became a little less interesting to be on the Nintendo side. But all of the developers that I worked with, it looked like they were leading very exciting, interesting lives, that they were working on projects that they had a lot of passion about, and it was very exciting working with them. And I kept feeling like, I wish I were on their side instead of on this side. So one day I just decided I'm going to try to switch sides. Each generation, the eShop has been improving. So on the Wii, it was a very simple eShop. It was, frankly, terrible. People couldn't find anything. It was difficult to buy things. And they keep improving it. The challenge they have now is almost that they have too many games, and they don't have a good way for people to find something interesting and just browse. So if you're in the top sellers, that's great. Or if you're chosen by Nintendo and they show your game, that's great. But everything else just, it disappears. So I've been a fan of Video Game Donkey for 10 years maybe.
So long.
And so I had never met him until Animal Well. So the way that happened is, at first we showed Animal Well a trailer at an event called Summer Games Fest and Day of the Devs. So there's a trailer, and I can send you the link, where Billy Basso explained about the game and showed it off. And Donkey made a video about that event and mostly was complaining about how all of the games just looked the same, they were boring, he didn't want to play any of them. But then he said, but Animal Well looks interesting. So we thought, oh, that's great that, that Donkey likes our game. And then, so he and his wife, Leah, they followed Animal Well and they followed Billy. And then one day, Leah started following me on Twitter. And so I just contacted her, and I followed her as well. And I just said, thank you for following us. We're excited that you know about our game, because not many people knew about Animal Well at that time. Yes. And so then as we were talking, she mentioned that she and Donkey, Jason, were planning on announcing a new publishing label. And they asked, do we want to talk about working together? And I thought, at first we weren't thinking we wanted a publisher, but we thought, oh, working with Donkey, that could be a big boost, and Leah also. So we started talking with them, and they were very nice people. We were a little worried, like, there's, especially Jason is so famous, and is he in real life? What is he really like? Of course, on YouTube he's funny. He's but what about in real life? But in real life he was so nice and very calm, and so it was very easy to decide to work together.
So he's very calm?
He's very,
He's the one who is easy to be excited, so has so many passion. So he is really calm in real life?
Yeah, he's actually quite quiet.
Quiet.
Yeah, I think he likes to plan what he wants to say, so he thinks about it, writes it down, and then he puts it in a video. But in a just conversation, he likes to keep things slow, I think. He's very laid back, calm person. Yeah.
That really shocked me.
Yeah. It became a very crowded genre, but in many ways, Animal Well is not completely a Metroidvania.
Yes.
It has some parts that are Metroidvania, like there's a map that you can explore, and there are items to find, and if you find the item, you can explore more. But unlike most Metroidvanias, there's no combat, and there's a lot more puzzles to solve. So in most Metroidvanias, it's usually maybe a few small puzzles, but mostly combat. And you become stronger, you can jump higher, you can run faster, all those things.
Yes.
But in Animal Well, you just get some toys, and then you have to just use your brain to think about, how do I keep going?
Yes,
yeah.
So I understand that. It's really fun.
Yeah, so that was a big challenge that Billy and I thought a lot about, because we didn't want to give any examples from the game, yes, because it would spoil it. So instead, we made something called ARGs, which stands for Alternate Reality Games. So what that means is, for example, in that video that I mentioned, the trailer where we first introduced Animal Well, we put a puzzle in the video. So, and we announced to people watching that there's a secret in the video. So people stopped watching and they rewound and they looked for details in the video, and there was a clue, and we gave away, I think, 10 copies of the game for the first 10 people who solved the puzzle. And so that was very exciting. And then we have a social community on something called Discord.
Discord, yes.
Yeah. So on Discord, we found that a lot of people who were watching that video joined our Discord, and they all started to solve the puzzle together. And then from that point, we put out more and more of these puzzles, sometimes in a blog post, or sometimes in a trailer, or just in a bunch of small areas waiting for our community to find these puzzles.
So who made these puzzles? You or Basso or Donkey?
It was mostly Billy Basso.
Himself?
Yeah, by himself. So the first one or two, we brainstormed together about how can we present a puzzle in a video and put a secret in the video. And so the first one, I think I want to say we kind of co-designed, but then Billy also wanted to use this opportunity to test the fans about how difficult a puzzle can they handle. And so he kept making more and more difficult puzzles, and after a while, I couldn't even understand the puzzle anymore. I was like, I'm out, I don't even understand. So then he was doing all of it. Yeah.
Yes, that's so genius.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there are a lot. So indie game developers are really fun people to get to know because all of them have decided to take a big risk and try something new, to do something creative. And so there are so many interesting personalities. And I remember one early on was, I don't know if you're aware, but at one point the game Super Meat Boy was supposed
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah,
yes.
It was supposed to come to the Wii at
Yes.
Nintendo. So I worked with the developers of Super Meat Boy to help with promoting the game and getting awareness of the game. And so at one event, it was a big press event. We invited lots of famous YouTubers and media companies, and because it was Nintendo,
Yes.
of course they all came. And we just told them, you know, we'll have a booth for your game and you just explain about your game to the media. And the event was something like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., something like that, not too long. But one of the developers just said, I don't like to wake up before noon. So I can't come until noon. And we thought, that's crazy. This is a big opportunity.
Yes.
It was before people knew Super Meat Boy. It wasn't famous yet.
Yes.
And the developers didn't have a lot of money. So I thought, this is a big opportunity for you. But he said, no, I want to sleep. So, I will say that some indie games are thriving, but as it becomes easier and easier to release games, there's a lot of games that release each year that nobody has ever heard of, and they don't do very well. So we usually only hear about the top maybe 20 or 30 games, indie games that come out each year, but really there's almost like 10,000 games that come out each year, but only about 30 rise to the point where people are really talking about them. So it's very exciting to see how much people are now aware of these games. It used to be that indie games were this kind of small thing that,
cheap.
Cheap, and also it's what you play if you're waiting for a big game to come
Yes.
out, and it's not what you really want to play. It's just to spend some time until the real game comes out.
Just like snacks.
Yeah, exactly. But more and more, I think people are recognizing that there's much more creativity and originality in these games, and so people are embracing them even more.
Yes, especially the 3 games are really boring now.
Yeah. The AAA games just it becomes very repetitive, and it feels like it was designed by a committee, not by one person with passion or something. So yeah, so one thing I was also very excited to find is that in China now, indie games have become popular in just, I think, the last few years, it feels like.
About just at the time the Steam is really popular in China, about 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a big surprise to me, and I remember hearing a long time ago that Chinese gamers maybe don't like pixel art because it reminds them that it's an old, or makes them feel like it's an old game. And it's like, no, that's a different art style. But so yeah, I was very excited to see that there are now a lot of Chinese players playing indie games. And so that's so exciting to me to see the whole world now really finding out how great all of these games are.
Yes.
Because a lot of large studios have a lot of excess management, so they have a lot of big salaries to pay, and also in order to compete in the AAA space, they need really big budgets, and they need staff of like 200 or 300 people, and the budgets are hundreds of millions of dollars, so it's very risky. If the game doesn't do well, people lose a lot of money. So what I'm hoping is that AAA will start embracing some of the lessons that indies have taught about how it's not really just about better graphics and better sound and bigger budgets. It's about creativity and about getting back to what makes a game fun and enjoyable to play, because I've played some big, expensive games that just aren't fun. So, so I'm hoping that AAA will learn from the indies so we can have more creativity throughout the industry.
So, yes, I understand that. Especially it's now almost $70, not just $60.
Yeah.
That's really expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
To aspiring indie developers, I would say don't focus too much on trying to make a big hit and having a big success right away. Just focus on learning how to make games, experiment with lots of different ideas, and then over time you will find your voice about what makes a game special and what makes a game that only you can make. And I think that is when games become very interesting, when it's something more personal that only you could make. So that's my message to developers. And that might take 10 years before you can make a game like Animal Well or something. But eventually, as you develop your skills, people can get there. For fans, I just want to say, especially in China, thank you so much for playing Animal Well. I was very surprised when we looked at our Steam sales numbers one day and we saw that China is one of our biggest markets, maybe sometimes our biggest market, depending on when we're looking. And we were not expecting that, so we are very grateful, and we hope you continue to support us in the future.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Words about the indie game developers reminded me my favorite producer, Hideo Kojima-san.
Oh yeah.
Because
It's funny. I haven't played a Metal Gear game in a long time, but Billy and his girlfriend, what they like to do a lot of times is pick some franchise and start at the very beginning and play all of the games in the series. So now they're working through all of Metal Gear from like the NES generation all the way to
really a long way.
A long way. Yeah, it's so much to play. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.